Let's start with the prayers. Om Sahana Bhavato Sahanau Bhunakto Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Today we are going to start a new chapter from Panchadasi, which is titled Pancha Kosha Viveka Prakaranam. We have completed the 10th chapter of this text last week, and we have seen how Vidyaranya very clearly takes up one topic and discusses it throughout the chapter. In the 10th chapter of the Panchadasi, we saw Swayam Jyoti Brahmana of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad taken up, and how that particular section of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad deals with a very important topic, which is Swayam Jyoti Swarupaha. We are all studying the spiritual side of us. This spiritual side, what are the characteristics? How I can realize this is the primary goal of Swami Vidyaranya. He is a great acharya, and it is by study of these type of texts we are able to understand how to use the Upanishads and realize our true self. This chapter, I will give you a little bit more details as we go by, and for those people who are coming new, I will give them a little bit of introduction about Vidyaranya. And to start with, I will give you the details of this chapter, how it is broken up. This chapter consists of 43 verses. We are going to study verse by verse. And we should understand that this chapter is based on Taittiriya Upanishad. For those of you who have done Taittiriya Upanishad, this will be a fantastic revision. The essence of the Taittiriya Upanishad has been taken up for revelation of Atma here. As I have mentioned several times, whenever you want to know who you are, keep the fundamental definition of Tattvabodha so that you know how to inquire about yourself. Suppose you are lost in life, worried about something. You want to get away from that worry. Immediately sit down and say, okay, let me think who I am, and then I will worry about some problems. When you do this type of an exercise, what happens is the worry goes away and you're able to go and hold on to your nature. That is the practical benefit of this study. Many a times in our life, we come across unsolvable problems. Very difficult, helpless situations. In those times, this type of spiritual study helps us a lot because it gives me a foundation of how to face life. So the fundamental definition of Tattvabodha is, I am not the five koshas. I am not the three sharirams. I am not the three avasthas. This is the first lesson of Atma, which has been very, very clearly pointed out by Shankaracharya for a beginner. It is not only a fact to be known for a beginner, but even if you have become a very strong seeker or you have become even a jnani, even then, in order to face the problems of life, we need to get back to our roots by remembering this fundamental definition. So this chapter is about the five koshas, which is taken up to understand my real nature. My real nature is Sat-Chit-Ananda Swarupa. That is what is coming up in Taittiriya Upanishad, the definition. So the three broad sections are, the first 10 verses deal with the topic, this self, which I am saying I, during the waking state. This I is not the real nature of me. That is what is described in the first 10 verses. 16 verses from 11 to 36 26 verses, I think six. So this is 26. There's a mistake there. 26 verses from 11 to 36 describe why the self is not pratyaksha or paroksha. These are technical terms, but it is aparoksha. Pratyaksha means seen by the eyes or perceptive in nature. The self is not perceived because it is the perceiver. It is not paroksha. Paroksha means something which is far away. It is not like Vaikuntha, or it is not, the self is not something very far away which I have to realize after death. But it is aparoksha. Aparoksha means here and now, today, right now. I should know myself because it exists and it is permanent. The self is of the Swarupa of Sat-Chit-Ananda. That is what is taken up in this section. From 37 to 43, 7 verses. Brahman Chaitanyam in association with Maya, Shakti, is this jiva and jagat. What is this Brahman? We will see. As we go by, we will see the definition of Brahman and how to realize this nature of the creator. Whoever is the creator, how he has created the jiva, what is the nature of Ishvara, what is the nature of this entire creation. To put in short, there is one fundamental thing in this creation which is called as Chaitanya. That is where our starting point should be. If you understand Chaitanya, which is the cause of the universe, it is the cause of the jiva, cause of the Ishvara, it is the fundamental cause, which we call it as Brahman. That fundamental cause, if we know clearly, then we will know the nature of the jiva, jagat and Ishvara. This is the line of thought taken up in several Upanishads. You know the cause, you will know the effect. Mundakopanishad. Chandogya Upanishad, Eka Vijnanena Sarva Vijnanam Bhavati. No one. So how do we all come to know the nature of the universe? By knowing the cause. And what is the cause? The cause is defined as Sat-Chit-Ananda. So chapter 1 and 3 are very technical in nature. It's a process to understand the reality. This Sat-Chit-Ananda together is called as the reality. A lot of technical terms are used by Swami Vidyaranya throughout the study. In all the 15 chapters of Panchadasi, you will find that technical terms are used. Like, for example, Upadhi. This is a technical term. You must understand what is the Upadhi. Then only you will understand what is the meaning behind it. How does the meaning convey Atma? So this text helps us to go deeper into our structure, the brain structure. As you go by, you will understand the depth of it because it goes very deep into koshas. When you go to the Anandamaya kosha, you can see the depth of understanding of Swami Vidyaranya. A little bit detailed version is given in this summary. Verse 1 and 2 is the introduction to 5 koshas. This is what we will be attempting today. Verse 3 and 4 tells us why the external sheath called as Annamaya kosha. It describes the Annamaya kosha in verse 3 and 4. Verse 5 is about Pranamaya kosha, why it is not Atma, why Manomaya kosha is not Atma in 6, 7 to 9, why Vijnanamaya kosha is not Atma. Verse 10 is why Anandamaya kosha is not Atma. Then it goes to the definition of Taittiriya Upanishad definition of Atma. What is Atma? Satyam Atma. Atma is equivalent, is the same as Brahman. So the 3 definitions of Atma or Brahman, which is given in Taittiriya Upanishad, are taken up from verse 13 to 28. It focuses on the Jnanam portion, the consciousness portion. From 29 to 34, it talks about the existence portion, pure existence, which is called as Satyam. From 35 to 36, it is Anantam, how it is beyond time, space, and objects. Then from 38 to 40, this Brahman has got a Shakti. Like you and I have got Kriya Shakti, Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti. Like that, this entity which we are saying is the higher nature of the jiva and the higher nature of the Ishvara. This entity which we are calling it as Brahman, pure consciousness, we can call it Brahman or we can just call it as X. You don't know that X today. That is what we are going to discover after we are able to go deep into the cave of this 5 koshas. So see the beautiful structure of this chapter. It takes the 5 koshas, it describes the 5 koshas, it says that I am not these 5 koshas, I am of the nature of Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, and it describes Brahman, it describes the Shakti of Brahman. It describes to me that Brahman in association with the Maya is Ishvara. The same Brahman with association with avidya is called as jiva. Both this avidya is a power of ignorance. Maya is a shakti of projection. So both these are embedded in that Sat-Chit-Ananda Brahman. In the important verses I have marked here, the most important I've said is the 33rd verse, which we will see. Before we jump into the actual chapter and start with the first verse, a quick just a quick introduction to Panchadasi and its author. Chapter 1 to 10 each of them are separate chapters. Each of them take up one aspect of Vedantic study from the Upanishads, and then they go very deep. 11 to 15 are continuous chapters which are called as Ananda Kosha, Anandamaya Kosha, which discusses the Anandamaya Kosha in more detail. I will only be taking a summary of those. I will not be going verse by verse. There are 500 verses there. I will be only touching on some of these verses during our course towards the end. The first 5 chapters are very important. We'll be doing all the 5 chapters. 6 and 7 are very large chapters of more than 200 verses each. I will give you a summary, like and then we will, after the 5th chapter, we will discuss what and how we should go about it. Swami Vidyaranya writes this first 6 chapters, 1 to 6. His guru, his name is Bharata Tirtha, who has written, according to some experts, he has written chapter 7 to 15. There are some commentators of this Panchadasi who say first 9 chapters are written by Swami Vidyaranya, the balance is by Guru Bharata Tirtha. Anyway, that is not we don't lay too much emphasis on this. As far as we are concerned, we are studying Pancha Kosha Viveka of the 3rd chapter. They are all written by very renowned acharyas of the past. They say that Sringeri Mutt, which was established by Shankaracharya, Guru Bharata Tirtha was the 13th acharya, and his disciple Swami Vidyaranya was the 14th acharya of Sringeri Mutt. Now, Guru has also written a bhashyam on Brahma Sutra. Brahma Sutra is a very important text which connects all the Upanishadic statements and says everything in the Upanishad is connected to Brahman. And this Bharati Tirtha has written a very beautiful commentary, which is a very famous commentary. It's called Ratna Prabha. And on that, there is a commentary by another person called Govinda Ananda Sishya, his Sishya. Anyway, sometimes the Guru writes commentary for a Sishya also. Suppose a Sishya has written some text, he writes a commentary on the Sishya's work. And sometimes the Sishya writes a commentary on the Guru's work. It is believed that Swami Vidyaranya had Pratyaksha Darshanam of Gayatri Devi. And some commentators have said this entire text is blessed by Gayatri Devi. It's so perfect and so clear and so precise. It can reveal Atma so easily. And throughout this text, we see Vairagyam is a Lakshana which is mentioned for sannyasa. Vairagyam means withdrawal from the world, either mentally or physically. But here the stress is more physically, so that you spend more time in the in studies. Swami Vidyaranya's brother is also very famous, who has written a commentary on 4 Vedas. It's called as Sayanachara. Swami Vidyaranya was a master of several disciplines like music, grammar, Sangita, Vyakaranam, Jyotishta Shastra, astrology, palmistry. So many shastras he knew. And he took sannyasa at the age of 75 and he lived 120 years. And this text, as I said, is blessed by Gayatri Devi. I have also heard that this was the first text taken by Swami Tapon Maharaj for Swami Chinmayananda. So this is the importance of this text. It's a very, very important text because for a serious seeker, this text is a revealing text. As we have seen already, the 10th chapter. How that Sakshi is the light in which the whole 3 states are coming and going. That was revealed in the 10th chapter. And it is self-evident consciousness. Chapter 2 of Panchadasi elaborates on the Chandogya Upanishad, Sadeva Saumyam Idam Agre Asit. The whole chapter is based on 1 verse. And it is basically on Pancha Bhuta Viveka. We differentiate this Sat-Chit-Ananda with the 5 elements in chapter 2. Chapter 3 is based on Taittiriya Upanishad, and main focus in Taittiriya Upanishad is on the 2nd chapter here. For those who have done Taittiriya Upanishad, there are 3 chapters in Taittiriya: Siksha Valli, Brahmananda Valli, and Bhrigu Valli. Brahmananda Valli is the main essence of Taittiriya Upanishad, where you discover the self by differentiating the 5 sheaths. We all have 5 dresses which we wear. We are all Brahman by nature. Brahman means I am pure consciousness. That is my real nature. But I put on the dress. As soon as I wake up, I wear this dress of the mind and the body, and then I experience the world. When I go to sleep, I remove this dress of the mind and body, I keep it aside. I am in my original nature, which is this pure consciousness. In between, I put on another dress and experience the dream state. Again, I put off the dream state dress and again I come back and rest in my nature. Pure Sat-Chit-Ananda Swarupa. How do I know whether I'm putting off this dress and putting on this dress? The mind is the factor we should study. In sleep, I don't experience the mind. When I get up, I experience my mind. So there is a connection between my real nature, which is pure Atma, and the mind. The mind is the reflection of that Atma. So as soon as I wake up in the morning, I start identifying with the mind and with the body. When I don't identify with the mind, it does not mean that I don't exist. And it is so easy for the mind to get away from this body. How do we sleep? We just drop the identification with the body and rest. So we should never be afraid of death also, because it is just a similar process. The mind disidentifies with the body. The mind, like in sleep, it disidentifies and then travels. That is what the Shastra tells us. Coming back to Taittiriya Upanishad, Bhriguvalli, it says, Om Brahmavida apnoti param tadesham yuktam satyam jnanam anantam brahma yo veda nihitam guhayam parame vyoman. So shnute sarvan kaman saha brahmana vipaschiteti. Very, very important verse of Taittiriya Upanishad. Based on this, the whole Upanishad is written. Based on this, if we understand this verse perfectly well, I will know my nature. What does this say? It says the definition of Brahman. And the definition is Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. The one who knows this Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, which exists, where does it exist? In the cave of the heart. In the cave, the heart means in our own mind, it is getting reflected. And if I know this Brahman, I can fulfill all my desires in life. Because if you know the cause, then the effect is known. The cause is Ananda Swarupa, which I don't know today. That is the ignorance. That is the power of Maya Shakti. I'm trying to get rid of this Maya Shakti and understand my real nature. The knower of Brahman gets moksha. Moksha means what? I know how to disidentify with the body and mind and live in the life, live this life as a Jivan Mukta. Very easy. If I know, if through the Upanishad and through the study of Panchadasi, I follow this chapter, 43 verses, step by step, I understand. And I will come to know how to drop identification with each of these koshas. Then I can rest with my original nature, which is Atma, which I'm anyway there, which is my real experience. It is not a new experience. It is my own experience. I'm only trying to understand my real experience, which is without this body and mind, and without the world also. That makes me immortal. That makes me not being affected by time principle. So I attain this supreme state, which is called as the Brahman state or the Turiyam state. And that state is a state of knowledge. Jnanam, Jnana Swarupam. And what is the knowledge? The knowledge is I alone exist without the jagat. How I can realize that is the study. To tell you in short, the way realization, self-realization takes place is I, as the ego, am experiencing the waking state. It is the same ego which is there in the dream state or a different type of ego. Okay, let's say ego is there. It experiences the dream state. The same I goes and experiences sleep state. Therefore, I say in the waking state, I dreamt, I slept, I woke up. There is a common I between the three states, which is this ego I. It is this ego I which is doing this study. It is studying what is this nature of mind in the waking state, what is the nature of mind in the deep sleep state, and what is the nature of mind in the dream state. through the revelation of the Shruti, it says that I am of the nature of Sat-Chit-Ananda, which is beyond these three states. Therefore, this ego I starts the search of its nature and gets a glimpse of that Atma, which is Sat-Chit-Ananda Atma, through this study. Definitely you will get the glimpse, each one of you. Guaranteed, you will get it. That is the first glimpse which a guru shows. When we study this, the guru shows us that this is the glimpse you will get of Atma, which I'm sure each one of you will slowly, you will start feeling, yes, this is true. After that, it is only the job of the seeker. You get the buddhi because of refinement with the study of the scripture, is able to get the power to have a glimpse. And then that power makes the knowledge more and more personal by dwelling on it. That is what we call it as mananam and nididhyasana. As you dwell more and more, oh, this is Brahman, oh, this is my nature, oh, this is my nature. Who does this? The ego I. See, this process of self-realization, how Swamijis, very, they also have studied in depth with Sanskrit knowledge, with the knowledge of the scriptures, grammar, Sanskrit, so many other angas they have studied. So when you listen to them, they give you this insight into how the ego I realizes its nature as pure Sakshi. And how this Upanishads reveal that truth. Let me come back here. So this is just to give you a glimpse of what happens when we study these things. So what is the nature of Brahman? Which is Satyam Jnanam Anantam. It is eternal existence. And where is this? It is Yoveda Nihitam Guhaya, in the cave of the intellect. Samvarane, it is concealed. I can't, it is there, but it is concealed for me. It is that invaluable jiva, which is that higher power, which is the cause of this entire creation. It is hidden in these five koshas. I am going to uncover each kosha by kosha. Today there is tadatmayam. There is identification with these koshas, wrong identification. What I'm going to do is upasamkramaya. Upasamkramya means non-identification. I'm going to drop the identification with each of these koshas and discover some pure consciousness, which is called as Brahman, which is different than the five koshas, which are made up of matter. So now you can understand it is a cave I'm entering. And through the torchlight of this Taittiriya Upanishad mantra, I'm going to study and I'm going to discover who I am. Annamaya, the five koshas, most of you, you know it. I'm just giving it to you so that you know exactly what steps we are going to follow. Annamaya kosha is the first kosha. Pranamaya kosha is the second kosha. Manomaya kosha is the third kosha. Vijnanamaya kosha, Anandamaya kosha. So in this study, we have to find out what is enclosed in them. What is enclosed in each of these koshas is consciousness. Every kosha has got consciousness. I am that, I am, and existence. It is possible to know this by discerning the pure nature with the five koshas. And there are two levels of discernment. One is between one kosha and another kosha, how do I differentiate? How do I know that Pranamaya kosha is the controller of Annamaya kosha? So first we have to do that differentiation. We must note that. Then the second is how Brahman, the pure consciousness, is different than all the five koshas. Now the second part is required for liberation. Moksha Shastra. That is what is the differentiation of the five koshas, which are matter principle, and the spiritual principle, which is a substratum, on which these five koshas are coming and disappearing, coming and disappearing. Atma is the same as Brahman. Atma is with reference to the body. When you take and understand the consciousness principle with reference to the entire jagat, it is called as Paramatma or Brahman. Jivatma is attached to, identified with one body. Paramatma is attached to all the bodies. What is the common name for Jivatma and Paramatma? The common name is Brahman, the reality, the Atma. It is not the Jivatma, it is not the Paramatma, but it is the Atma or Brahman. Which we are calling it as the ultimate. There is nothing beyond that. That is the cause. So knowing the cause, which is Sat-Chit-Ananda, I will know the entire effect, which is the jiva, jagat, and Ishvara. I try to study Atma because that is easy for me. I can go into the five koshas and understand who am I, this principle, that I, the pure I. Who is that I? On which this entire body is surviving. And then the Upanishad says, this Atma, which is the core of the individual, is the same Atma, which is the core of the entire Jagat. Unless until I equate the Atma to the Brahman principle, then only the subject is, the study is complete. In Taitra Upanishad, the way it starts is, Etasmat tasmat va etasmat atmanaha akasha sambhutaha. Very important word here is atmanaha. From this atma, this space comes out. From the space, vayu comes out, from which is air. From the air, fire is born. From the fire, water is born. From water, earth is born. From the earth, you get the herbs, which are the food for man. So this is a step by step. Brahman is my own real self, ultimate reality that can exist by itself. At the same time, with a Shakti which it has, it can display the universe for a jiva to come and enjoy his punya papa and again go back and rest in Brahman. This is the structure of the universe. It is a projection of Brahman. Like how I project a dream, similarly Brahman projects this world for all the jivas. Upadesha Sara says, Veshahanata Swatma Darshanam, Isha Darshanam Swatma Rupataha. Very beautiful verse, Ramana Maharishi's. One who gives up the conditionings of the five koshas, he gains self-realization. The vision of the Lord as the self is a true good God realization. That means I am that self, I am that pure consciousness principle. If I come to know, that is what is called as God realization. Because that I is really God. That I is God means what? That's Sat-Chit-Ananda principle, not the body. I'm not calling the body as God. That's a sacrilege. That is a mistake. It's a big mistake. You cannot call the body. What is the content in the body? Like the space is the content in a jar, in a pot. Consciousness is a content in the body-mind complex and the world. That is God. That is reality. The knowledge of this Brahman is a relationship, sambandha. What is the Vishaya? Vishaya is me. I am this consciousness and I have a relationship with this entire jagat. Today, this consciousness is mixed up with the five koshas. I am going to extricate these five koshas through the study of the third chapter. So this is an introduction, a general introduction to the third chapter. Now we enter the first verse.
तृतीयोऽध्यायः पञ्चकोशविवेकः गृहाहितं ब्रह्म यत्तत् गृहाहितं ब्रह्म यत्तत् पञ्चकोशविवेकतः पञ्चकोशविवेकतः बोद्धुं शक्यं ततः कोश बोद्धुं शक्यं ततः कोश पञ्चकं प्रविविच्यते पञ्चकं प्रविविच्यते.
So the very first verse is called as Pratignya Vakyam. Pratignya Vakyam means an introduction to the whole chapter. What am I going to discuss in this chapter? I am going to discuss this Brahman. Where is this Brahman? It is hidden in the cave of the five koshas. And by differentiating this with the five koshas, I will be able to know this pure Brahman. I already gave you the background, like space is there in a jar, like space is there in a room. If I know the space in the room, I will know this entire space in the cosmos. Because space in the room and space outside is the same. Consciousness in this body and consciousness in the entire jagat is the same. It is a Sat principle outside. It is the Chit principle inside. The Chit principle is able to experience the thoughts and emotions and whatever is the body's conditions. All that is consciousness. It is known by consciousness. Outside, everything is Sat. It is existence. This consciousness is also the existent principle which I see. The cosmos exists, the tree exists, all the jivas, they exist. The existence is the reality. Nihitam means it is placed, hidden. This consciousness is hidden. Bodhyam Shakyam. One of the doubts which we all have is, can I know myself? That doubt is cleared here very easily. The author says, Bodhyam Shakyam. It is possible to know this Brahman, this consciousness, this real nature of mind. I will be able to know it. Because it is this I which has entered this body. Nivishtam. Nivishtam means anuprevishatam. See, normally, for example, when I come back from my sleep state to waking state, I enter this body in the morning when I wake up. I means what? That mind which was resting, that I, Atma, which was resting, it is now available in the body. Anupravesha. Lord created the universe and entered the universe. So similarly, I am a small jiva. I enter the waking state. I enter the dream state. I enter the sleep state. I can come out. Therefore, what is this jiva? It is a traveling jiva. Traveling where? It is traveling between the three avasthas. And or the five koshas. So I have to, when I study Mandukya Upanishad, I study the travel between the three avasthas. When I study the Pancha Kosha or Taittiriya Upanishad, I study the traveling jiva who enters, exits, enters, exits. Which is the, who is this entering and exit? It is this it is the consciousness which is reflected in the mind, which is the ego I. And it is this ego I, as I explained to you earlier, learns to drop its nature of identifying with the body, and the more it studies the Veda, the more it gets convinced of this pure nature, which is the real nature, which is its original nature, which cannot change at all, because that is what is nature. So the methodology is, through Pancha Kosha Viveka, Brahman is identified with the five koshas. It is identification is because of ignorance. For example, we feel that we are doing some actions. I am running, I am jogging, I am listening. All these actions is not the nature of Brahman. It is the nature of the sense organs, indriyas. Indriyas are acting, but not the consciousness. I feel that I am acting. That is what is called as ignorance. Through the study, I'm trying to drop this ignorance. I will learn to drop the ignorance, and I say, I am akarta abhokta atma. So the mistake is not in atma, the mistake is in the intellect. It is in the instrument, in the body instrument. I'm correcting that mistake and I'm trying to discover my real nature. If ignorance is a problem, what is the solution? If darkness is the problem, the only solution is light. For ignorance, the only solution is knowledge, jnanam. If I get the jnanam of the world, will I get it? No. If I study more and more the objective sciences, all the objective sciences I keep on studying, will I know myself? No. You're in the wrong direction. Instead of going north, you're going south. So come to the Veda and change your direction of search. If you want fulfillment in life, if you want to make money, it's okay. You know, you study some physics, you study some software programming, you study medical science, you study engineering. You can survive in the world. You can go around, earn money, have a comfortable life. But it will not give you moksha. Dharma, artha, kama you can get. But if you want moksha, which is freedom from sorrow, freedom from rebirth, freedom from samsara cycle, then come to this Taittiriya Upanishad and change the direction. It is the same intellect which you are using, which you have used in your kindergarten class to your PhD. It is the same intellect which is now studying, who am I? And now in this process, what I'm doing is Pancha Kosha Viveka. I'm trying to understand clearly this ego I. All the living beings are Vyavartakam. Vyavartakam means they are able to discriminate. I mean, in the sense that they are changing. Plant, animal, human, all these living beings are having consciousness as their nature. It is only the human being, because of the superior intellect, who can differentiate. The Viveka Shakti in a plant or an animal is less compared to the human being. The human being's intellect can say, I am the ego which went to sleep. I am the ego which went and dreamt. Who is this I? It can study. So the first verse is a Pratignya Vakyam, Tatparya Nirnayam. It is a vow. It declares what is going to follow. Prakarana Ganta means spoon feeding for beginners. This is a beginner's spoon feeding session of going step by step to understand this Atman. We need to understand, we need to go through these Prakarana Granthas before we study the Upanishads. Then when the Upanishad says Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, you will pick it up very fast. Because you have done the Pancha Kosha Viveka. Brahman exists in the cave of the intellect, differentiated from the five koshas and become free. That is the essence of the first verse. The second verse is a lengthy explanation. I will try to introduce the verse, but I will complete it next section. But let me introduce the second verse.
Dehat abhyantarah pranaha, Dehat abhyantarah pranaha, Pranadabhyantaram manaha, Pranadabhyantaram manaha, Tatah karta tato bhokta, Tatah karta tato bhokta, Guhaseyam parampara, Grihaseyam parampara.
Now, in the second verse, Swami Vidyaranya enumerates all the five koshas. He says these are the five koshas. He's going to expand on them from verse number 3 onwards. But what is this five koshas? Deha dabhyantara pranaha. Inside the deha is this pranaha. Prana dabhyantara manaha. Inside the prana is this manaha. Tathak karta tatho bhokta gukhya seyam parampara. That means in the same way, the Manomaya, Vijnanamaya and Anandamaya are inside this cave. That is what he's saying in this verse. He's describing the cave of Atman. Parampara means lineage. What is the lineage? What is the step-by-step lineage explained in this Atma description? First dress I am wearing is Annamaya, the food sheath. The second dress I am wearing is Pranamaya, the air which I am breathing. Then the third dress which I am wearing is the Manomaya, mind, emotions. Then the fourth sheath is the Vijnanamaya, buddhi. This Vijnanamaya is the doer. This is where the reflection of Atma takes place. And then I say, I am the doer. I am the enjoyer. Inside the Vijnanamaya kosha is the Anandamaya kosha, the bhokta. Now I am going to remove all these 5 dresses and see the hero or the heroine inside, which is the pure Atma, which is not connected with the 5 koshas. In its presence, everything is going on. All the actions are taking place. Like the sun's, in the sun's presence, the entire world gets activated. In the presence of the magnet, the filaments get attracted. That magnet is something like this Atma. Sannidhi matrena. It is in the presence. All these activities of the 5 koshas take place. And ultimately the jiva, which is identified with these 5 koshas, drops the identification by neti process and then says, I am that pure Atma. That pure Atma cannot be described by words. Guha. Why the word guha is used? Because it veils the nature of Atma. You can go inside the guha, go inside the cave. You can light up the knowledge. You can inside the cave, you can go and strike a matchbox. And all the darkness in the cave will get destroyed. Similarly, in our intellect, through the study of Panchadasi, 3rd chapter, I will be lighting the lamp of Atma inside this cave of the intellect. It's a very precious Atma which I will be discovering, because this discovery gives me the freedom from identifications, makes me free. Not only in this janma, in this birth, I am free. I come to know I was ever free in all the janmas. Nitya muktaha, that is the nature of pure Atma. Annamaya is within the body, within this body, the outer shell is the body. In this outer shell, you have the prana. What is the meaning of within? Very important factor. Within means it is the controller, governor. It is subtle. Body is the physical sheath, Annamaya, made up of food. Whatever food we eat is displayed in the form of the outer shell. Pranamaya kosha is the prana, which is the inhalation and exhalation. And that prana has got power of excretion, digestion, circulation, throwing out. All that is one prana. Prana controls the functions of the body, and it is within the body. So the controller of the body is prana. If the prana, that is why we say in yoga, you do pranayama. Control the movement of prana, then you have controlled your body. Manomaya kosha, pranadabhyantara manaha. Within the prana is this mind. Why do we say within? Because mind is the controller of the prana. If mind is calm, your breath becomes calm. So by doing pranayama, by controlling the prana, I am controlling the mind. By controlling the mind, I can control the prana. It's interconnected. Mind and samadhi, when it is in samadhi, the physiological functions are reduced. Body maintained by the force of prarabdha karma. What is this keeping the body alive? It is the karma, the action, the punya papam, which is there in the karana shariram, which is ultimately expressing in the intellect, through the intellect in the mind, through the mind in the prana, through the prana in the body. Mind is of the nature of sankalpa, vikalpa, vimarshatmakam manaha. Prana gives the kriya shakti. How am I able to act? It is because of the prana. The capacity to act, the capacity to gain knowledge, jnana shakti, is all coming from this prana shakti. So prana is very, very important. We'll stop here with the 13th slide, and then we will start next week. We'll continue this. It's the second verse I have elaborated a lot, but it will give you the gist of the entire study of this third chapter. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachade Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyade. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. There are no messages in the chat box. In case you have any comments, you can unmute yourself and then you can ask any questions if you have. Yeah, Shama.
So, Shekharji, in this study of Panchadasi, therefore, the methodology adopted is, at least that's what it appears in this third chapter, that we go through the process of assertion first of like each of the Pancha Koshas.
Yes.
And then saying, it is not this, it is not this.
Correct, that's right, yes.
Yeah, yeah. So it is a very systematic way of almost, I was reminded of like how in medicine we do the dissection of the body.
Yes.
Yeah. So you dissect layer by layer, you know, this
Correct,
is
yes.
skin, this is
That's
this,
right.
this is
Yes.
this.
Yes.
And then you examine everything, and that's it. Having examined everything, then you come to a certain knowledge of the part of the body, whatever you're examining. But that's
Yes.
about the body.
That's
now,
right.
Here we are doing something similar in this Panchadashi, which is the study of the mind itself, or further than the mind, actually.
Yes.
The self.
Correct.
Actually.
That's,
so
yes.
It's not even the mind.
That's right.
Self.
Yes. You have to drop the mind and then go to the intellect, drop the intellect, and then you ask the question, what lies beyond that?
Okay. A question I have, one is that this Pranamaya kosha, or prana, or which we in English we will call it life force, isn't it?
Yes,
Life
that's
force,
right, yes.
Life force. And however, it is only a reflection of the consciousness, you know,
Yes.
the power of the Atman, or the power of the consciousness, which is one of the functions, is the prana.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, in this prana here, there are only 4 functions, isn't it? Respiration.
5 functions.
It's, I think I saw respiration, circulation, digestion, and excretion.
And
4.
then throwing out the soul outside the body, that is called as udana.
It's not excretion.
Its excretion is one of the functions, but there is a 5th function which is called as udana,
which is
pranas, vyanas, samana, prana, vyanas, udana, samana, the 5 pranas. We will get into the depth.
apana.
Yeah, apana.
Prana, apana, yeah.
Prana, apana, vyana, samana, udana.
Udana, correct. So this is, udana is what?
Udana is the function which is there in the throat area. And in this area, there are 2 things which are there. For example, suppose I'm sneezing. That is a function of udana. Suppose I'm vomiting, it is a function of reverse action. It is udana. It is throwing out something.
Okay.
It is. This is what is called as udana, and the main factor of this udana, they say in the scriptures, is it is this udana which is responsible for the soul or the mind to leave the body. Yeah. The force by which the mind leaves, drop this body and enters the next body, that is the udana function.
Okay, okay, I see. Very interesting, fascinating. So therefore, through this whole process, then we, just one question on this Pancha Koshas itself. What the function of the mind itself, is it not prana? Because I used to think that the mind functions because of the force of the prana itself as well. No?
That is okay. I will come to that. This question will be answered in one of the verses.
I see.
Just wait till, because we are going to study each of this kosha and then say why this is not, why each of this kosha is not me. At that time you will understand.
Okay, and just one last, you said in Vijnanamaya kosha, that is where the doer is.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
And so would that be the same, the knower, the doer, the bhokta,
yes,
the bhokta,
that's correct.
all
Yes.
that sense of experience?
Yes. You see, why we say manaha controls the prana is, normally you will say, yes, it is the prana which is connected with the mind. Normally that is how we say it is a prana which is important. But when it comes to Vedanta, what we say is it is the manaha is the controller of the prana. Why? Because this manaha is responsible for taking up this body. Mind, intellect, equipment takes this body. And to make this body function, it uses the prana. The physiological functions are maintained by the prana shakti.
Correct.
But the mind is the one which has taken up this prana, and the mind will leave this prana and then it will go to another body. Therefore, the mind is superior to the prana. And then you go deeper and deeper. I mean, that's why the study of this 3rd chapter is very interesting. Each kosha, the Vidyaranya will say how you should study that kosha. Okay. Anyway, you will get to the depth. This is just the introduction portion, and I'm glad you have so many questions because it makes you more curious to study this text.
Yeah, and so, and although overall it looks very simple, but
Yes.
then when you go, it's not as simple.
Yes, it is not so simple. No, it's a very deep text.
So in the final, this thing, as I'm now stepping ahead, in the final this thing, the whole of the Panchadashi study, it leads to the light of the Atman, isn't it?
Yes.
And therefore, in that Atma Jnanam, it dispels the darkness which is inside the heart cave, and the jiva then stands tall, illumined, like you know, when you are in the midday sun, you know, if we stand in the midday sun,
Correct.
we see no shadows.
Yes.
Yeah. So all of our shadows, which is all the strange ideas that we have, that all completely disappears.
Yes.
Because you are actually in the Atma Jnanam and that light.
Correct.
Which is, yeah. So
yes.
almost like analogy.
That is how you destroy your ignorance. All the ignorance which you've had so far, all that is completely washed away just by one glimpse of Atma. And then that glimpse remains in your intellect as a memory. It remains, that glimpse of Atma remains in your memory, and then again and again you want to have that glimpse. This is an automatic process which happens in your mind. And this is why your moksha, that seeking, goes more deeper and more deeper and more deeper.
What is that impels you to seek?
Sorry?
What is that force which actually impels, you know, actually it pushes us to know ourselves? What is that?
That force is called as Maya Shakti. Right. It is Maya Shakti, which you cannot see. It is a Shakti. In this whole universe, there is a Shakti. And that Shakti is in charge of your intellect. It is in charge, it is the one which controls your mind. So it is the power, it is the power of Ishvara. So that power of Ishvara will push you to see the truth of Ishvara.
So it's crazy. First, it actually throws you into this orbit, you know, where you can carry on for the millions of years.
Yes.
And it totally, you know, Mula Vidya, you know, where you,
that Mula Vidya will get completely destroyed. That is why we are studying the Adhyasa Bhashyam on Saturday, because this Adhyasa goes away.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else has a question? All these chantings are done by Vijaya. She is continuing the chanting. This will help us to those people who are interested to read the verses and also learn to chant, because she is taken up this as a task. She does all the verses one by one. She sends me the recordings. She practices it and she puts them into a record. And then, you know, now we can hear our voice every week. Right at the beginning, if you come, you can listen to the chant of all these verses. We play this for about 10 minutes.
Okay. Wonderful.
Okay. If there are no other questions, we'll close today. Just to remind you that from 16th of this month to 26th of the month, there will be no sessions. I'm traveling. So we will miss 2 Wednesday sessions and 2 Saturday sessions. So the 16th and 23rd Wednesdays, we will not have a session. 19th and 26th Saturday, we will not have the session. So you can plan to do whatever you want to do in these 4 days. So 16th, just to tell you shortly, 16th to 26th. So we will miss 2 sessions and then we will restart the following Wednesday and Saturdays. Okay. All right. Anything?
Okay.
Thank you. Good night.